Welcome home to USA Global TV and Radio, a place where dreams take flight, with authentic storytelling, diverse perspectives and meaningful conversations, where global stories unite and bridges are built beyond all borders. Discover world-class education, entertainment, hope and inspiration. Together, we're building bridges worldwide. Subscribe to our channel, USA Global TV. Download our app, USA Global TV. Be our guest or join our team. Visit usaglobaltv.com. Thanks to our founder and executive producer, Dr. Jacalyn KERBECK. Music score by Yeffy Tang from Cloud Road Music. Voiceover artist Mike Porter. Creative direction by Paul Garcia. USA Global TV and Radio. Your home for global connection. All rights reserved. This video and its contents are the exclusive property of USA Global TV and Radio. Unauthorized use, duplication or redistribution in any form is strictly prohibited.
100 days ago, I decided to change my lifestyle. And today I'm here with an unscripted episode to share what that journey has been like. Have you ever decided that you were just going to stop doing something that you had been doing for many years, maybe decades? It became very natural to you, even a habit, part of your life. Well, that's what happened to me. So I'm going to share my story with you. This is totally unscripted, and I have no idea where the topic will take us, but I just wanted to be here as someone providing motivation and support, because making a big change in life isn't easy. So it was January of this year, 2026, and I actually was driving to Solid Core, which is a fitness class that I've been taking since 2018. And I was in Virginia visiting family. And I remember I was driving along and I felt something was literally hanging over my workout pants. And I thought maybe it was the top I was wearing. And I thought, that's really strange. And I reached down and I looked, and it was actually my stomach. It was my stomach that was hanging over my yoga pants. And I thought to myself, when did this happen? I actually was in denial for a little bit, because I've been working out and taking care of myself for longer than I can remember. I think from when I was 14 years old. And so I thought to myself, well, I don't want to deal with this right now. And maybe you felt like that. You realize something is amiss. Maybe you're not performing at the highest level, you're not thinking at the highest level, and you just kind of ignore it. So I thought, well, I'm going to Solid Core, and then I'm going over to Lifetime Fitness to work out after that. So it can't be a big deal because I'm in pretty good shape. I'm really strong. And so as the day went on, I thought more and more about it. And of course, miraculously, after doing 2 workouts, I was thinking that I'd look down and there wouldn't be a stomach there anymore. And of course, it was still there. And so I want to put it in perspective. And obviously, there are things in life that are much worse than what I'm talking about. So this isn't about judgment, but it's just about how we can get into these patterns of behavior. And I'm just like you. I'm a human being. And so what I was saying to myself was, at the time I was 62 in January, now I'm 63. And I was just saying to myself, well, this doesn't make sense, because I'm super fit. I'm super strong. I'm relatively healthy. I've had ulcerative colitis for a long time and high blood pressure. But I kind of think, well, who doesn't have high blood pressure, right? Which of course is ridiculous. So I started actually looking at the fact that I was in denial. So I've always been a size 2, US size 2 or size 4. And I was slowly creeping into the size 6. And I know this because for one of my gifts for the holidays, one of my family members gave me a pair of Lululemons, and they were size 6. And at first I felt all these emotions because I had shared that I felt like I had some extra stuff hanging off on the side, some love handles in this little roll. And then I thought back to this commercial. I think it was Kellogg's. I'm trying to remember, about if you can pinch an inch around your waistline, that's a sign. And so I had a good inch going on, a good inch. So what happened next? Well, I started justifying it. You know, you are 62 years of age, you're in some state of menopause, this probably happens to everyone. And I remembered my mother. So my mother passed away. It'll be 3 years ago in August. And she was an athlete and she loved her sugar. She ate a lot of sugar. When I tell you 5 cans of Coke a day, plus Twizzlers and licorice and all kinds of sugar. She had a sweet tooth. And I never really thought of her as having any love handles or a role. I just thought of her maybe being thicker. And so I thought, well, that's probably what I'll be like if and when I make it to 83, 84 years of age. And as the days went on, I realized I was actually just kidding myself, that there was nothing miraculous that was going to happen to take away this blob, like below your belly button. If right now, like just go below your belly button, is there like a blob there? Do you feel any fat there? Well, that's what I was feeling. And even though it wasn't loose hanging, it was pretty hard because my stomach, I do a lot of core work, but it was still there and it was still bothering me. And it's funny because when I go to Solid Core, and by the way, I'm not a paid spokesperson, and if you're outside the US, they don't have locations yet. But many of the people who show up, a lot of the people who go there are in their 20s and 30s, and they're wearing midriff tops with their stomach exposed. And sometimes I see people with stomach roll fat and nobody cares. But now I was at the point where I was wearing 2 shirts because I just couldn't stand it anymore. So I thought, well, I can hide behind these 2 shirts. And then something else that I said to myself was, you've earned this. You've earned the right to have this role because you've worked hard. You've worked your entire life. And then in the back of my mind, I could hear my mother's voice because I had spoken to her about this probably before it took a turn for where it was. And I remember her saying, well, anything that you have below your belly button, that little area there, she said, that's because of your disease of ulcerative colitis and that your intestines are sticking out because they've been inflamed for 30 plus years. So I started thinking, you know what? That sounds really cool. I bet that is the reason. Well, fast forward, what ended up happening was I was sitting at my family's house and I've been drinking Chardonnay for as long as I can remember. In college, I drank vodka, those ice picks. If you've ever had any of them, it was regular iced tea with vodka. Somehow this was a healthy combination, not. Well, I started drinking Chardonnay at some point. I don't remember. And maybe I was drinking Chardonnay for 30 or 40 years, a long time. And I was never someone that wanted to go to a bar. This is after college. Want to go sit at a bar or want to sit and get drunk or, let's get together and just drink. That was never really me. It was kind of just drinking Chardonnay at the end of the day. So I could be traveling, I could be coming home late and I wouldn't even miss it. But the bottom line was that when I got home, I wanted to have my Chardonnay and I live by myself. So there was nobody there. There's nobody here. It's just me. So now I'm at the family house and I'm getting up to refill my glass to have Chardonnay. And I actually just felt kind of stupid because nobody else was drinking and they were watching TV and I was working at my computer. And I really liked the Chardonnay. I only was drinking one type, Kendall Jackson primarily, not a paid spokesperson. But I really felt foolish that I was getting up to refill my glass of Chardonnay. Why did I need to be drinking this? So it started to wear on me. And then, of course, with the holidays, there was a lot of eating of sugar. I had stopped eating sugar for, I think, over 3 years. And then when my mother had dementia and our family was together for her birthday, we had a birthday cake. And it was kind of like, okay, well, you're not going to have cake to celebrate your mother. Like, how long is she going to be here? This is what I'm thinking to myself. And again, another story that we tell ourselves. So I was off sugar totally. And then I went to the dark side and I started eating sugar. So given that everything else in my diet was pretty well structured, I found myself eating candy. And I was going back to early when I was growing up, and maybe you remember how you ate and what you ate when you were younger. But growing up, my go-to was a toasted salt bagel with butter, really good butter, and American cheese. I love that. And then I would have 5 Reese's cups, the little ones, 5 of them. And I only had 5 because the serving size was 5. And so that's what I used to eat growing up. And as I got older, I went back and forth with the bagel, but I still love the chocolate. Then I got off of that because it wasn't healthy. So I found myself eating really good chocolate in terms of the percentage that it has in it that's actually chocolate. But at the same time, I thought, why am I doing this? So January 18th, I made the decision. I was sitting in my family's house and I just said, you know what? I'm not drinking anymore and I'm not eating sugar. And I don't know what my family thought of it. I'm not sure what I thought of it, but I thought, let's see if you can do this. I wasn't actually even sure if I could do it. And I thought, if I can't do it, then that could signify that I have a problem. Maybe I have a problem drinking and maybe I have a problem with sugar. I don't know, but let's find out. So, of course, when I was with my family, it was pretty easy to do because there were other people there. And if people aren't drinking, and even if they're eating sugar, I'm able to just stay disciplined and structured. And I just kept working out, doing my workouts. And again, I have no judgment on anyone. This is just about my journey and the backstory of what happened. So then I was driving home from Virginia to New Jersey, and it dawned on me, there won't be anyone there to keep me accountable. So when I got home, back to where I am right now, I thought, let me look in the refrigerator. And I had gone to the liquor store before I left, and I think I had 3 bottles of Chardonnay unopened in there. And I thought, well, probably the best thing to do would be to just open them and put them down the drain. And I thought, you know what? No, because that makes it easy. If I really am going to do this, the temptation has to be there. It has to be within reach, that I know that whatever is going on, that I could open the door, I can open the cabinet, and I could have Chardonnay and I could have chocolate. So interestingly enough, shortly thereafter, my apartment was flooded for the second time. It was flooded a year ago. In this room where I am right now, which is my studio, my broadcasting studio, I was in the other room and I was just about to go to sleep, and I heard this water gushing, and it was coming through, I should say, the HVAC closet. And so I opened it and I just saw a ton of water coming down. And so, of course, I started making phone calls, and then the fire department came and the police came and the maintenance people came. And the whole time, the 3 bottles of Chardonnay were in the refrigerator and the chocolate was in the cabinet. And what ended up happening was I was up until at least 2:30 in the morning doing makeshift, moving things around, pots and pans, putting sheets and waterproof things over the furniture. And I never had Chardonnay and I never had the chocolate. And there was no one to congratulate me. There was no like, hey, great job under pressure. But I thought to myself, that was a defining moment, that I tell myself stories like, oh, it's okay to have wine. You need the wine to relax. You need the chocolate. You've earned it. You've worked out hard. And I realized that they were just stories I was telling myself. So what happened since then? I have never had another glass of Chardonnay. I've never had any sugar, chocolate, or otherwise. I eat the same exact food every single day. I monitor what I'm doing on the Zero app, Zero, not a paid spokesperson. I go to sleep and get at least 8 hours of sleep. So, why do I want to have this show? Because I want to share with you what has actually been happening, what the journey has been for me in terms of what I expected, what I didn't expect, and where I plan on going from here. So, more of a backstory. I was never someone to smoke cigarettes. I've never tried a cigarette. I've never done drugs, recreational drugs, narcotics. I take blood pressure medicine, which hopefully I will not be needing very soon. And I take medicine for ulcerative colitis. And I also inject Dupixent for facial eczema, which I've tried to exist without, but it didn't go too well. Other than that, no drugs whatsoever. No pot, nothing, no gummies, zero. The only thing I liked was my Chardonnay. That was it. And so I started realizing that a lot of the decisions I made personally when it came to men and relationships had been based on me drinking Chardonnay. And all of a sudden realizing I wouldn't have made those decisions had I not been drinking. And I know that sounds kind of crazy, but I started realizing that the focus I had on life was very different. The priorities I now have are very different. The people showing up now that I've announced this is my lifestyle, it's very different. So I want to talk about the positives. The first thing is I went for my physical in March, and the year before I had gone for my physical, and my blood pressure was 171 over 110 on medication. My blood pressure was always running high, and it's been running high since 2012 when my father died. I didn't have high blood pressure until then. And so when I went to get my physical this March, just last month, the doctor said to me, "Do you know the last time you were here, your blood pressure was 171 over 110?" She said, "I have written down here that we wouldn't let you leave until your blood pressure came down to a normal range." And it came back to me. I didn't want to think about it, but I remember I had to sit there and they kept switching arms to check the blood pressure. So when I went, I don't remember the exact number, but it was like 110 over 70 this year. And I check my blood pressure almost every day. I didn't do it today, but it's typically 99 over 68. And it could be 100, it could be 105, but it is well below what is considered to be normal, or especially not in the danger range. I mean, at 171 over 110, I think that was kind of alarming. And I'm actually surprised they didn't put me in the hospital. But I definitely say that my blood pressure coming down to where it is has to be related to my shift in diet and to giving up alcohol. Now, here's something that I learned. I learned that wine gets processed relatively quickly, but when you're drinking, and I was only drinking at night, I would drink before I would go to sleep. You know, it helped me sleep, is what I thought. But I learned that that's actually not the truth, because your body is working on the alcohol and it doesn't even get to the food. And so I read something about if you're getting up at 3 o'clock in the morning to go to the bathroom. Well, I still get up to go to the bathroom. I mean, I think that's just a normal thing. But I wasn't aware of what actually goes on behind the scenes. And for someone like me who has ulcerative colitis, whose intestines have been inflamed, having alcohol is not a good thing to do. But I really felt like, well, I've made it this far. You know, did you ever say that to yourself? Well, I'm still going, I'm still here, but the body is a machine. And so again, no one told me to do this. I didn't go for any tests. No doctor said, by the way. In fact, I would put that I drink Chardonnay every day and no one said anything to me because I'm highly productive. So long story short, the ulcerative colitis has not come back, thank God. I went for my colonoscopy also in March, and the gastrointestinal doctor who did the test, he's the same one who did it last year, and he said the amount of inflammation that you had compared to last year, it's negligible. I don't know what you did, but keep on doing it. So that's outstanding. So when it comes to a health perspective, those things are great. Now, I really thought as a result of changing my diet that my eczema would go away. And it hasn't. So I'll get patches on my face or on my neck or some places on my body. And I think I went for 2.5 months without injecting Dupixent. And eventually I just had to, because it's drives you crazy. And I did a lot of research about it. And sometimes it's diet related and sometimes it's not. So that hasn't gone away. Now, do I have any fat rolling over my workout pants? No, I do not. Yay. That's super exciting. Do I have love handles hanging over the back? No, I don't. Do I fit into my size 2 and my size 4 clothes? Yes, I do. So these are all positives. But on the negative side, my expectation was that I was going to wake up one day and be completely transformed. I was going to look in the mirror and go, oh my gosh, by making this major sacrifice to give up these 2 things. By the way, I also gave up pizza, which I love pizza. I gave up things that I love. I expect any day I'm going to look in the mirror and go, whoa, look at what happened to you. You look amazing. That is not the case. I'm just as hard on myself as I used to be. So going forward, I have some decisions to make because now that I've reached 100 days and I'm going to share this, I'm very excited about this. 100 days. By the way, I haven't had caffeine in longer than I can remember. I want to say I haven't had caffeine in maybe it could be 15 or 20 years. So I have nothing to get me high except for life. I know sometimes when people have low energy, you've got the caffeine. I haven't had a caffeine in 15 years probably because of my ulcerative colitis. So I don't have sugar, I don't have caffeine, I don't have alcohol, I don't have narcotics, I don't have recreational drugs, I don't have nicotine. I have nothing except for me getting myself motivated to do what I have to do. So here's where I stand. I really struggle with this because I say to myself the following things, and I want to know if you've ever said this to yourself. Well, how many more years am I going to be here? If I'm 63, and your story is going to be different, but if I'm 63, my dad lived to be 72, my mom lived to be 84. How long will I be here? So maybe I'll outlive both of them. I don't know. But how much do I want to keep sacrificing? And am I really giving up fun for longevity that is not guaranteed? And here's something else I started thinking about. Because I do live alone and because I do work alone, most of my work is over a computer, right? You're watching this on a computer wherever you are in the world. What about if I have to reacclimate into the world of being with people the way it was before COVID, when I actually was working in corporate and went to an office and had clients I would visit and traveled the world? Am I going to be perceived as boring? I don't know. That is in the back of my mind. I don't know the answer. But what I do know is if we have to have some kind of substance to make us exciting or interesting, if you have to do something, ingest something to make you feel like you're interesting, I think that is something to look at. So right now, thinking to myself, maybe I am a boring person. I'm very structured. I'm very disciplined. And I know that that is something that annoys people, that I'm so regimented and disciplined. But I like how I am. I like the fact that I'm structured and disciplined. I can't believe how much I'm able to create and accomplish because I am. And at the same time, I don't have the alcohol and the sugar. And as I mentioned, I've never done any of these other things. And I haven't had caffeine in 15 years. So I wonder if that makes me stand out as someone who is strange. I don't know. So that's in the back of my head. And there's really no way to gauge except if I'm looking for external validation. If I need somebody to tell me I'm not boring, I'm interesting, then I'm looking for external validation instead of getting it from within. So, based on what I just shared with you, I don't think I am boring. I am structured, I am disciplined, but to me, I think it's exciting. I've had many conversations with people who just can't get it together. They have one or two things on their plate that they want to get done, and they have a lot of reasons why they're not getting them done. And I have no judgment about that. But I have a ton of stuff that I get done, and that enables me to create more things and more things. It's almost like I am celebrating every day the fact that I never used the creative part of my brain when I was in corporate. And now I feel like all I'm doing is creating, and I love it, and it's exciting. So, will I continue to go without sugar and without alcohol? Yes, that is my plan. That is my plan. Now, does that mean that I will never have a glass of wine? I don't know. I honestly don't know. If someone were to invite me to a party and say, we've got the best Chardonnay they have in the world, do you want a glass? Right now, today, I would say no, I'm not interested. And yet, I look back on who I was when I was drinking Chardonnay and when I was eating sugar. And I was a pretty productive person then too. I mean, I've got a master's, I got a doctorate. I mean, I could go on and on. It doesn't matter. It's not about that. But I've always been pretty productive. But when you take away those two things, and your things could be something completely different. It doesn't even have to be a substance or food. It could be you're a workoutaholic or a shopaholic or a gambler. It could be any number of things. You could be somebody, there's somebody that lives in my building that they're smoking pot probably 3 or 4 times a day. I don't know who they are. Is that a problem? I don't know. I don't know. When is doing something too much for our body? I'm not here to judge. I'm just here to tell you my story. And that's why this is unscripted, because I don't have an outcome that I'm expecting. I'm just celebrating 100 days. And so maybe I'll stop counting the days. Maybe it'll just be like it's routine. One thing I have realized when I look at the positives and the negatives is I'm never going to look like I did when I was 20 or 30. I'm still hoping for late 40s, by the way. I'm never going to look like I did that many years ago. And regardless of what it is I'm doing, that's just a fact, because the body changes. The skin changes, the amount of collagen, the hormones, they all change. But I do know that I am now living the healthiest version of me that I've ever lived in my entire life. And I am a person who is very used to gold stars. I grew up with do this, get that. So demonstrate a certain behavior, get the gold star, get the allowance, get the certificate, get the award, get the degree. And there's none of that for this. And as I mentioned, it's day 100. There's no celebration because I'm alone. So the only celebration is me sharing this information with you, which is quite good enough for me. I don't need any more. I think that's something I'd really like for you watching or listening to take away from this, is that a lot of our life is spent waiting for someone to acknowledge what we've done. I just watched a short video clip about how the super wealthy raise their children. And by the way, I have no idea if this is true or not. It's just a clip that I saw, so I'm just going to give that disclaimer. But in this clip, this woman shared that the wealthy do not acknowledge or celebrate the accomplishments of their children like other people might do. And the reason given was because it's expected that they're going to get good grades. It's expected they're going to do the right thing. And it's been for a number of years where every child gets a trophy, every child is celebrated. So I'm not sure what the answer is, because when we become adults, if we've been grounded in that theory that if we're not recognized by someone else, that can impact our self-esteem. All I know is that when we have our self-esteem, when we have the awareness of what it is we've done, we don't need anyone else to acknowledge it. So even though you're watching or you're listening, whether it's live or on the replay, and I really do appreciate it, whether you agree, whether you think what I'm doing is terrific or you don't, doesn't matter to me, because I feel good about what I'm doing. I broke a habit that I had for decades. I did it alone. I did it without a mentor. I did it without an accountability partner, and I did it without substituting. This is something that people do on a regular basis. I will hear from people, oh, I don't drink. I haven't had a drink in 10 years, but they smoke pot. They snort cocaine. They're doing gummies. So I don't know. Does it matter? And again, I'm not here to judge. But what I'm saying is, if you are not relying on a substance or a process or people for you to feel good, for you to get high, then that says something. What it says is that you are functioning at the highest level that you can function. And of course, there's always room for growth. But by giving up one thing, and an example would also be food. Someone might say, well, I stopped eating sugar, but now they moved to salt. Now they're eating salty foods. So sure, you stop with the sugar, but now you're putting something else in your body that your body probably doesn't need that much of. And it's just good to look at it. So what about this statement, everything in moderation? What do you think about that? I don't know how I feel about that, because to me, cigarettes in moderation, no. Pot in moderation, no. Cocaine, no. Gambling, no. There's really none of those things that I can say yes. Shopping, how about shopping? Because that's a big one. Do we need to shop to fill a void? And I did this for many years. You feel bad about yourself, you go shopping. I mean, you walk around in a department store and what do you see? You see a ton of women. I used to work in cosmetics, and I can't even tell you how many women would come in to get a makeover or buy new makeup because they felt like they were invisible. They felt like no one was looking at them. They needed the external validation. So anything that we're doing, it could be working out. If you are working out to the point where you are doing a detriment to your body, it's too much. So we can switch from one thing to another. But if we don't actually look at what is going on inside of us, what is the catalyst for why we're doing what we're doing? So for me, I just know that for as long as I can remember, wherever I went, social outings, when I was married, we were drinking Chardonnay. That's what it was. We drank Chardonnay. We had some really good Chardonnay. Friends, you get together, you have Chardonnay. And it just became a habit. And it's a habit that didn't serve me. Nothing happened. I didn't have hangovers. It's not like I was unproductive. I couldn't function. I didn't have any of those things. But I was putting substances into my body, Chardonnay and sugar, which are not good, especially having ulcerative colitis. So you may say to yourself, well, my health is terrific, so I can do whatever it is. I'm not here to tell you what you can and cannot do. I am not. We all have to come to some realization about what it is that we're doing. But what I do know is we have a number of shows on this network about longevity and health, and you hear the same thing over and over again: moderation, elimination. So what you decide to do is up to you. If you decide to take a journey and you need some support or some help, there's many people who can work with you. I provide private advisory and coaching, but that's not why I'm here today. I'm here to just let you know that a habit is something that can be broken. And it doesn't have to be replaced with another habit. What it can be replaced with is loving yourself, looking in the mirror and accepting yourself. So I've accepted the fact that I cannot look like a 20 or 30-year-old. And by the way, when I was 20 or 30, I didn't like the way I looked either. So there's something to be said about that. I would say today at 63, I am the most secure that I've ever been. Do I look the best that I could? I don't know. This is how I look. This is what it is. And I'm very grateful. I'm grateful that I get here to be here on a television network, which I created from nothing, doing something completely different. I'm grateful that I have this opportunity. I'm grateful that I can see and hear and smell and breathe and be able to talk to you and have my faculties about me, because I've watched people lose their minds. I've watched people who can't breathe. It is not a pleasant situation. So is there a trade-off? Probably looking for that supermodel look, which, by the way, if you read anything about some of these A-list celebrities or even supermodels, they're tormented. They're tormented because they want to stay relevant and get work. And yet at the same time, they're constantly competing against people who are younger or prettier. So we have to love ourselves for who we are. We have to be able to look in the mirror and say, you know what? I have a lot of good things about me. And if there's something you don't like about yourself, if you feel like you've fallen into habits that don't serve you, take a look at it. Take a look at why and what can you do about it. If you're having difficulty, if you are in denial, If you're in denial about your life, first of all, go have your health checked. Go get a physical, see what the physical comes back with. If you have high blood pressure, like I had for so many years, and saying to myself, well, it's okay because I'm on medication. Well, no, when I saw the 171 over 110, that's actually not okay. It's not okay. But it still wasn't enough. I was already on medication, and then I went on 2 kinds of medication. So right now I'm down to 1 medication because I haven't seen my cardiologist, but I suspect they'll be taking me off of it because my blood pressure is very low now. So what I want to leave you with is this. I say this all the time, but you have everything you need inside you right this minute. You don't need external validation. You don't need the pat on the back. You don't need someone to cheer you on. You just have to make a commitment to yourself and say, you know what? This doesn't serve me anymore. I'm going to let go of it. It's kind of like when you do some kind of spring cleaning. You might have something, maybe you have a pair of jeans or a t-shirt or something that you've been holding on to for so long because one day you're going to fit back into it. And you realize as you get older, that's not important. You're holding yourself to a standard that doesn't exist anymore. And what life is really about to me, it's about experiences. It's about opportunities. It's about someone presenting something to you and you say to yourself, you know what? I feel uncomfortable, but I'm excited. My intuition tells me, let's do it. Let's go for it. So maybe you have to let go of something. Maybe you've got to let go of that job that you just can't stand anymore. Maybe you've got to let go of a friend or two who just doesn't understand you. Maybe you've got to let go of your partner. Maybe you've got to let go of the ideas that you have had in your mind for so long. Maybe you've got to let go of hatred. Maybe you've got to let go of having to be perfect or having to be right so that you can find peace. So, as I close out today, what I will share with you 100 days after giving up alcohol, which was only Chardonnay, by the way, alcohol and sugar, is that I am very clear focused. I am at peace, and I feel like I am in the best place I have ever been in my life. I don't know what's coming, but what I can tell you is that proving to myself that I could let go of things that I thought brought me joy, I didn't need them. I didn't need them. They don't define who I am. So whatever it is that you have in your life that you think is defining you, I ask you to really think about it. Is there something that you can do so that you could find more peace in your life? Are you doing something because that's what everyone does? Because that's what all your friends do? Because that's what your partner wants you to do? I'll share this. When I got divorced, I left my husband very long time ago, and we had a number of friends, and we would travel with the friends. And one of the spouses I ran into, and he said to me, I was so angry with you for leaving your husband because we were all a group. We all traveled together. We all had dinner together, and you ruined it. And he said, and then I realized, it took years, but I realized how selfish I was being because I didn't want to face the fact that your marriage wasn't a good one and that you weren't happy. I would rather have you be miserable so that all of us could be together as a group. And if I had stayed in that marriage and that mindset, it probably would have destroyed me. So I had to go and I had to file and I had to leave. And I'll never regret the day that I did that. But sometimes we hold so tightly onto things because we are so afraid to see what's on the other side. We are literally terrified to let go. But yet our life is going on. It is already 2026. We are already 4 months into this year. And time is ticking. So today is what we have. This moment is what we have. I hope whatever choices that you make, they bring you joy. And I hope that you can find peace. And I hope that that peace will perpetuate you to be a kind and loving person, because there's so much hatred in the world. I don't have time for it. But there are so many people out there who are lost, who are angry, who are just latching on to things because they don't want to do their own work. That's the gift that I feel that we have. We get a choice. We can choose every single day. Today's the day I'm going to let go of something. Today's the day I'm going to embrace something. Today's the day I'm going to make a change. So as I close out, I would love for you watching wherever you are. I know there's many places you can watch us. Can you please go over to our YouTube channels, USA Global TV and Radio and Dr. Jacalyn, and subscribe to these. And the reason being is that YouTube gives us real information about what's going on, who's watching. The other platforms, sometimes these shows are up there temporarily. Facebook takes everything down after 30 days. We'd love to have you with us because we get real information. And from the research that I've done, more people are watching YouTube than are watching any other platform, including all of the big live streaming platforms. So come join us here. And my last message is, one of the things I've worked diligently on myself, also with my coaching and advisory clients, and for upcoming keynotes, is a book called Stop Giving Away Your Value. Stop giving away your value. There's so many times when we give things away for free, and then we do it again and again and again. And there's nothing wrong with giving things away for free. There's nothing wrong with donating. There's nothing wrong with volunteering. But if you are in business, at some point, you have to ask for reciprocation for your services. And that's usually money. And people have a hard time doing that. I start off in this book talking about the fact that last year I met with a former client and we were having a conversation, and the person said, I would have paid you 10 times more than what you charged me. And I was blown away. And I will never forget that as long as I live. And the person said, you don't realize what you've built with USA Global TV and Radio. You don't realize, because this person's not in the United States, you don't realize the opportunities that you're giving to people. When people are on mainstream television, for example, you get 3 minutes, you get 5 minutes. People come here and they get a 40-minute show, and then they can come back again. And I never forgot about that. And I felt so stupid. I thought, why would I just give away my value? Because I'm a people pleaser, and because I've always been afraid to ask for what I think I'm worth. That's over, my friends. That is gone. For someone who has standards and discipline, I know my value. And I don't think if I hadn't had that conversation that I would be able to be here today talking to you about this. So I've written a book about it. I'm going to bring up the book cover. It is coming out any day. I'm waiting for, here it is, Stop Giving Away Your Value. It's been uploaded to the bookstores and also to Amazon. So I'm waiting for it to get an email saying that it's being distributed. So you should be able to buy it in the next day or two on Amazon or in fine bookstores. Here is the movie trailer. Let's take a look. Thank you again for being here. I really do appreciate it. We're coming back with another one of our shows. If you'd like to be a guest on any of our shows, please go to usaglobaltv.com. Book your session. Bye for now.
How much of your value have you been giving away? Saying yes when the answer should have been no? Lowering your price to secure the opportunity? Giving more while receiving less? Over time, it adds up. Until one moment brings clarity, you've been giving away your value. This is not about working harder. This is not about doing more. It's about boundaries. It's about pricing. It's about respect. From Dr. Jacalyn KERBECK comes a direct and necessary message. Stop over-delivering. Stop underpricing your expertise. Stop negotiating against yourself. Because when you recognize your value, everything changes. Stop giving away your value. Boundaries, pricing, and the business of respect. Available now wherever fine books are sold and on Amazon. A film by USA Global TV and Radio. Executive producer Dr. Jacalyn KERBECK. Videographer and cinematic production Paul Garcia. Voiceover by Ed Vargas. Stop giving it away. Start owning it.
My Tummy Hurts by Dr. Jacalyn KERBECK. Meet Jackie. She loves recess, running with friends and laughing on the playground. At school, Jackie tries to play like she always does, but suddenly the pain comes back. Lately, something feels different and her tummy hurts, sometimes a little and sometimes a lot. With the help of a caring teacher, a nurse, her mom, and a kind doctor, Jackie begins to understand what her body is trying to tell her. Sometimes tummy pain is more than a simple bellyache. Some children live with conditions like ulcerative colitis or Crohn's disease. Jackie listens to her body. She asks for help. She knows she's not alone. And Jackie finds her way back to running, laughing, and being herself. My Tummy Hurts, a kid's guide to bellyaches and bathroom troubles by Dr. Jacalyn KERBECK, available on Amazon and in fine bookstores around the world.
Thank you, viewers and listeners of USA Global TV and Radio, for joining us today. We're honoured to have your time and attention as part of our global community. At USA Global TV and Radio, we believe in the power of authentic conversations, meaningful connections, and creating a world of possibilities together. Want to be part of something bigger? Join our team of elevated listeners at usaglobaltv.com, a space where your voice matters and your ability to listen transforms relationships. Stay connected with us across all our platforms for thought-provoking discussions, expert insights, and empowering stories. Subscribe to our channels at youtube.com/c/USAGlobalTV. Follow us on social media and explore the endless opportunities we're creating for growth, learning, and inspiration. Together, we're not just broadcasting, we're building bridges and changing lives one conversation at a time. For inquiries, contact us at info@usaglobaltv.com. Produced by Executive Producer and Director Dr. Jacalyn KERBECK. Voiceover by Mike Porter. Creative direction by Paul Garcia. All rights reserved. Visit usaglobaltv.com to view our full terms and conditions.